Okay, maybe we can all take bets as to how many episodes it's going to take for Liz to figure out how to record good audio. Hi, I'm Liz from Liz Gets Loaded, the money kind of loaded. But this is the podcast where I sit in my closet, drink wine, and talk about money and anxiety. I have both. I decided on a whim one day that I wanted to start a podcast. I fell down the Google rabbit hole and I discovered Anchor by Spotify. If you haven't heard of Anchor, it's basically everything that you need in one place on your phone or on your computer to record and edit your podcast and publish it to get it up on platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's absolutely free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. My intention for season 2 for this next batch of episodes was to talk about shopping and spending money in general and how I feel about those things. And the thing I wanted to talk about today, the thing that's on my mind that I've really been grappling with is actually to get a little bit meta is this podcast and the sound quality and a purchase I made that I had just way too many feelings about, which is the Blue Yeti microphone that I'm talking into right now. So let me give you a little bit of background and then tell you why I went on this ridiculous emotional journey to purchase this microphone. You've probably heard me say before that I started a podcast on a whim. It was always something that I thought would be really fun, but I just had in my mind that it would be really hard. So when a friend of mine named Jess asked me to be on her podcast, and I will link it in the show notes, I was just so delighted and I felt like I am famous. Someone asked me to be on their podcast. And then I met with Jess and she's just a delight. And I was kind of watching her record and she told me the episode would be out in a week. And I thought, wow, she has so much going on. She has a full-time job. She has a side hustle. She works out all the time. She's got stuff going on in her life. Like, if she has time to do this and can figure out how to do it, then I probably can too. And I was right. I decided one day, I was like, yeah, okay, let me just figure this out. And so I fell down a Google rabbit hole and I found the Anchor app, which I really love because I know I have an ad. I do ads for them, but it's because I really love them. They do really make it so simple. And I recorded the first couple episodes just straight on my iPhone 6. So a little aside, if you don't know this already, I have a separate phone that I use I call it my fun phone. So for social media, games, etc. And then I have I don't call it a work phone, but it's more like my real phone. So I use my real phone for work email and Slack and texting and maps, and if I ever need to do online shopping, book a restaurant reservation, it's like my life phone. And then I have my fun phone, which is where I play games and get on Instagram and play around with my podcast and all those kinds of things. So that's my aside. I started recording this podcast on an iPhone 6 just using like the built-in microphone. And then I bought one of the cheapest microphones you can buy. It was $12, a little lavalier mic that I just pinned to the corner of a laundry basket here in my closet in order to record audio. And it was better, right? The first couple episodes, if you go, I think it's the first 4, they sound terrible. The next couple sound slightly better, but a good friend of mine who does podcast producing said, Liz, if you really do just need to buy a podcasting microphone, like it's going to make such a difference. And they're not expensive. They're only like $200. And my initial reaction was $200. And listen, here's the thing. I will drop $200 on something random just because it makes me happy. Like, I love buying $100 pairs of leggings, and I love going out for a nice dinner that could easily run over $100, and I like to drink good bottles of wine. Like, spending $200 on something shouldn't faze me, but it did, and I want to tell you why. So I started Liz Gets Loaded. I started an Instagram account maybe a year and a half ago, totally for fun. And I feel like everyone says that, but then you're like, but secretly you wanted to get Instagram famous and make tons of money. My number one goals were to connect with other people who had similar mindsets and goals opportunities as me, maybe to feel like I helped someone. And then really like the biggest benefit for me is kind of having a brain trust. I really love Liz Gets Loaded. I spend most of my time on Instagram. I mean, not most of my time in the world. I mean, I spend most of my Liz Gets Loaded related time on Instagram. And the best part about it is, I'll just give you an example from yesterday. I have a brand of underwear that I really liked, and they got discontinued. And I posted into stories, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. My favorite brand of underwear got discontinued. Where should I buy my underwear? And within an hour or two, I had 20, 30 suggestions. Oh, here's where you should shop and why. That is the most valuable thing to me about having my tiny micro platform, the brain trust, the being able to ask for suggestions and getting them off the bat. I will say I just recently, over the past few months, started very occasionally posting affiliate links. And so these are things where it's always something I was going to purchase anyways, or always something I would recommend anyways. But if I'm going to be saying how much I love something and someone else is going to go purchase it, like, I may as well make a couple bucks, right? So this is the best example. Like, I love my sheets. I love these sheets so much. They are absolutely my favorite thing in the world. I talk about them all the time. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be talking about them anyways, and people are going to be purchasing them based on my recommendation, like, there's no harm, right? If I end up making a few extra dollars. And so I started doing that, and I don't know, something changed about the whole thing. It made me just think like, oh, okay, like is this now a thing where I'm trying to make money? And I'm like, no, I'm not really. And so, full disclosure, from posting affiliate links, I have made, I think like $6, seriously. But something about buying a $200 microphone when I made $6 made me feel like, oh no, now all of a sudden I'm like negative $194. I'm in the red. Whereas if I was still just doing this for the joy and the love of doing it, and I just wanted to go buy a $200 microphone because that made this more enjoyable and more fun, I would feel completely fine about that. And I'm not saying that that's a correct way to feel. I'm never saying that feelings, mine or anyone else's, are correct or incorrect, but my mind just started spinning, and I thought, oh, like now I feel like I need to go try to do more podcast ads or like do more affiliate ads to pay for this thing, which is so silly because for anything else in my life, if I wanted some accessories for my Peloton bike or for my actual bike that I go ride outside, I would just go spend the money on it. If I wanted a new piece of clothing, if I wanted to go have an experience, if I wanted to take some kind of trip or upgrade that trip, like, I have usually no problem in spending that. And that's, I'm really lucky that $200 is a dollar amount that kind of doesn't make that big of a difference in my budget. But my brain was just spinning around on this. I wonder if that makes any sense. So I did want to take my friend's advice, though. I trust her. I think she's very wise. And I started looking around for podcasting microphones. And I ended up, Blue Yeti is the brand that you'll see suggested over and over again if you decide to do podcast microphone research. And so I ended up getting a lower end model, the Yeti Nano, because the primary difference between this one and some of the more expensive models were the modes of recording that it has. So this microphone has a mode that's great if you're the only person speaking and that's the only audio you're trying to pick up. And some of the higher end microphones have more options if you were in a group discussion or interviewing someone, for example, which I'm not planning on inviting anyone into my closet anytime soon. So this seems fine for me. I also had to do, I know you've done this before, right? The mental justification. So I can use the microphone for Zoom calls at work. I can use it for connecting on video chat with friends and family. I'm going to use it for other things. And then really, though, my friend did me a favor, because when she mentioned, oh, you should buy a good microphone, it's only going to be $200. And then I found this one, which is normally only $100, and then it was on sale for $70. Because my brain had been anchored at that $200 cost, I now feel like I got this screaming deal. Whereas if she had said, oh, it's only $50, and then I found one for $70, I'd be kind of grouchy, I think, because it was more than I was expecting. So that, my friends, has been my experience with buying a podcasting microphone. I have felt really frustrated as I've tried to play around with audio quality. I want this to sound good for you, for me, for just wanting to be a person in the world who's doing a good job at something that I'm trying to do. So if you have feedback, good or bad, I'd love to hear it. And thank you, as always, so much for listening. If you enjoyed listening today, share this podcast with a friend or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Ideally, one of those written reviews where you actually write out maybe a few sentences, a couple words, ideally nice words, but I'll take what I can get.